I want to ask you something. When was the last time you really looked in the mirror? Not checking your hair before a meeting. I mean, truly seeing who you actually are in the world versus who you think you are. Here's a statistic that should make you uncomfortable. Studies from Cornell University show that 90% of professionals, 90, rate themselves as above average in their interpersonal skills. Meanwhile, 360-degree feedback reveals that only 15% of leaders' self-assessments align with how their teams actually experience them. We're living in a collective delusion about our own impact. I was coaching a senior executive recently who kept talking about how approachable and collaborative she was. I'm the kind of leader people feel comfortable coming to, she said. I have an open door policy. I'm always available. But when I spoke to her team members, I heard a completely different story. They described her as intimidating, someone who said she welcomed feedback, but whose body language and responses often made people feel judged. Her open door felt more like a trap than an invitation. This woman wasn't lying. She genuinely believed she was approachable. She had created an identity in her mind that felt true to her, but it bore little resemblance to the impact she was actually having on others. This is what I call identity blindness, the gap between who we think we are and who we actually show up as in the world. And I believe it's one of the most dangerous forms of self-deception we can have, especially in our professional lives. The mirror in your mind isn't like the mirror on your bathroom wall. It's a funhouse mirror. It distorts. It flatters. It shows us what we want to see, but rarely what actually is. Hi, I'm Jenny Clark, a conscious leadership expert who spent 2 decades in executive recruiting and talent management, having worked with giants like Google and Spencer Stuart. I discovered that the secret to transformative leadership lies in the 5 dimensions of conscious leadership. And I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Join me on this channel as we embark on an honest and vulnerable journey together to become the kind of leader that genuinely inspires transformation in your organization. Got a little career boosting secret for you. Do you want the inside scoop on leadership plus some juicy tips and hot takes you won't hear anywhere else? I've got a newsletter that's basically your personal career coach in your inbox. Just click the link in the description to join in. Oh, and if you're loving this content, I know you are, click that subscribe button. It's like giving me a virtual fist bump, ensuring you won't miss out on any future videos. Let me share my own moment of reckoning with identity blindness. For years, I thought of myself as someone who was naturally inclusive and made space for others. I valued diversity of thought. I believed in empowering others, and I genuinely wanted everyone to feel heard. Then I got some feedback that stopped me in my tracks. A colleague told me, "You say you want everyone's input, but you tend to take over conversations. When someone is struggling to articulate their point, instead of giving them space to find their words, you jump in and finish their thoughts. It feels like you're trying to help, but it actually silences people." I was devastated. Not because the feedback was harsh, it was delivered kindly, but because it revealed a blind spot I didn't know I even had. In my mind, I was being helpful and efficient. In reality, I was being domineering and impatient. That moment forced me to confront the possibility that other aspects of my self-perception might also be out of alignment. It was uncomfortable, but it was also liberating, because once you see the gap, you can start to close it. But here's what I discovered about why we stay blind. Sometimes the illusion serves us. Maybe you need to believe you're more confident than you actually appear because acknowledging your insecurity would be paralyzing. Maybe you need to believe you're more likable than you actually are because facing your impact on others would be too painful. I've worked with some people who, when confronted with the gap between their self-perception and others' experience of them, chose to dismiss the feedback rather than examine it. "They just don't understand me," they'll say. "They're not seeing the real me." But when multiple people are giving you similar feedback about how you show up, the problem isn't that they can't see the real you. The problem is that the real you might be different from who you think you are. Let's examine the patterns of identity blindness I see over and over again. Which of these might be you? The "I'm so authentic" delusion. You pride yourself on telling it like it is and being real. In your mind, you're refreshingly honest, but others experience you as harsh, insensitive, or lacking emotional intelligence. You've confused authenticity with a lack of filter. There's the "I'm a great listener" fantasy. You're convinced you're an excellent listener, but you're actually waiting for your turn to talk. You think you're being attentive, but you're really just pausing between your own contributions. The "I'm so supportive" illusion. You believe you're mentoring and developing your team, but your version of support feels like micromanaging or judgment to those on the receiving end. Of course, there's the "I'm naturally charismatic" myth. You think your energy and enthusiasm are magnetic, but others find you overwhelming, attention-seeking, and even insecure. Here's what makes this so dangerous. You know that you stayed up all night preparing because you care deeply about doing good work. When you snap at someone the next day because you're exhausted, you excuse it because you don't know the context. But they don't see your good intentions. They just see someone who was rude to them. Other people don't interact with your intentions or your internal narrative. They interact with your actual behavior, your actual words, your actual impact. The cost of operating from this false sense of self isn't just embarrassing when you get called out. It's strategically devastating. You make decisions based on fiction. You miss opportunities for growth because you think you've already mastered things. You damage relationships without knowing it. You lose credibility because everyone can see what you can't. So, how do we develop more accurate self-perception? Start with these practices. What patterns show up in the feedback I receive? If multiple people tell you similar things about your impact, there's probably truth there, even if it doesn't align with your intentions. How do people actually respond to me? Do they seem energized or drained after talking with you? Do they seek you out or keep interactions brief? Do conversations die after you contribute? When was the last time I sought honest feedback about my presence, not just my work? Ask specifically, what's it like to work with me? What impact do I have on the team? Where might my intentions and impact be misaligned? Just because you meant well doesn't mean it landed well. Where might good intentions be creating negative impact? What story am I telling myself that others might not be experiencing? Compare your internal narrative to the actual evidence of how people interact with you. The diagnostic question: if I recorded my interactions for a week and watched them back, what would I notice about my impact that I'm currently blind to? Look, this isn't easy work. It requires courage to ask for honest feedback and even more courage to really hear it. It requires humility to acknowledge that your internal narrative might not be the whole story. But here's what I've discovered. There's tremendous freedom in seeing yourself clearly, even when what you see isn't what you hoped for. When you stop operating from illusion, you can start making choices based on reality. You can't manage what you can't see. You can't improve what you won't acknowledge. And you can't lead others effectively if you don't understand how you actually affect them. The illusion of yourself might feel uncomfortable, but it can be a prison. It keeps you from growing, from connecting authentically, from being the leader you actually want to be. The people who develop accurate self-perception, who align their impact with their intention, these are the people who build trust easily, who influence authentically, who lead effectively. They're not perfect, but they're real. They know how they are and how they affect others, and that knowledge makes them powerful in a way that all the illusions in the world never could. So what will you discover when you look in the real mirror? And more importantly, what will you do with what you see? The most powerful thing you can know is who you actually are, not who you wish you were. And that knowledge starts with having the courage to really look. You ready? Let's get to work. I get it. Taking that first step can feel daunting. I've been there too. But here's the thing. You've got strengths you might not even realize yet. I put together a free career mapping framework to help you uncover those hidden talents and chart your own path forward. It's not about changing everything overnight. It's about starting to see your potential clearly. Ready to explore? The framework's waiting for you. Just click the link in the description. Your future self will thank you for taking this small but powerful step today.